Welcome to our fourth and final semi-state hangouts Thursday night. Two more nights until semi-state. I'm excited, getting ready, having some great practices, looking at brackets, analyzing them, finding out who your losses are to, all that fun stuff. Tonight we're talking Fort Wayne, God's country, where the mines are, the best wrestling, right? Best facility.
Exactly.
We got Dane filling, sorry. He's the Belmont guru. He says there's gonna be 12 Belmont kids at state, and they only got like 11 at semi-state. That's how good they are.
That's right. We're going to pick up that bonus wrestler.
And Mike Reiser, he's coming for his fourth in a row semi-state. The only reason he's doing this is because he wants to win the pick'ems because he doesn't. He thinks it looks bad if he doesn't win them, right?
Always feel that way.
You and your twin brother Caleb Spires.
Two handsome devils there.
That's a,
And honestly, Caleb's he is really good at the pick'em, so I'm not gonna. He's a killer.
It's between you two and McGill who always get. You guys are consistently top 5, top 10 in every one of them. So
I think we're the only ones that pick up every single one. That's why.
yeah, I think I might do them. I might do them this year.
I'm going to have to put a movie in tomorrow in class so I can get my picks done.
Nice. So we're going to talk some Fort Wayne stuff, some good wrestling. The big thing, one thing I'm looking forward to is the team race. I think Yorktown's a little bit of the favorite because they have some horses and some other guys, like as I said in the preview, they have some ponies that are going to follow up and get some make the top 4 and get some big points. But Belmont, Carroll, Elkhart Memorial, Delta all have enough guys in the race that can make it fun and interesting if they come to wrestle. So should be a great day of wrestling. Any comments on the team race, Dane, that you see?
Yeah, I think it's going to be back and forth as the day goes on. I've got Yorktown and Belmont sort of going clear of the other two, but maybe that's just from seeing more of Yorktown and Belmont as the season's gone by. Delta, Carroll, Elkhart Memorial, even Prairie Heights. We were talking earlier. Prairie Heights got some bad draws, but they could come out and have a really good day, and boom, they've got 5 state qualifiers. They could be right there too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot of good matches. Team-wise early on. Ticket round. That's gonna make it very interesting. The bonus points are going to be huge. Early on, especially. We are counting the first round, and miraculously, I guess we're going to wrestle matches, and they're going to count for points. It's an amazing concept here that we have in Indiana. I can't say at least we're not Michigan, and we don't DQ teams and kids from the state tournament. So.
Yeah, and some of those first round, second round matches, you've got one team favored, and they lose to another team in the team race. It's a 15, 20-point swing. And all of a sudden, your prediction of 120 to 110 becomes 130 to 110. There are going to be some matches early on that really affect the team race.
Oh yeah, those are huge points in that quarterfinals. That's huge. You get about 10 points right there just for qualifying. I think it's 11 if you just win by decision those first 2 rounds.
Did you notice that regional was scored different last week than sectional was?
You mean as far as placement points?
Yeah, they were scored 14, 10, 6, 4.
That's how it is in the rulebook.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a little known, obviously, because there's so many tournaments that just place 4 that you don't know, but that's technically the correct way. But that's huge points to get in early on. Getting that. That's 4 points, and actually 6 if you win because you get the advantage.
Correct.
So that's big points right there. That's 6-0, and you're not going to score any more with those guys losing the ticket round. So
and some of those top 4 or 5 teams are going to score some pinpoints in that first round too, and that may end up being the difference also.
Yep, definitely pins and majors right there where they're they're 1s and wrestling 4s, things like that. So we'll get into the wrestling now. Should be some good action. 106, going to be a fun weight class. This one we've kind of seen. Didn't really. You knew there were going to be some tough draws. Didn't get any super death draws. I mean, if you seed it, I think this is almost how you kind of seed it. I mean, where you'd put people based on their wins and losses. I'll let you start it off, Dane. Tell kind of your picks, kind of what matches you're looking for, and I'll add on to what you and Mike say a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Jay County last weekend. Braden Curtis looked really good. I've had my eye on him since he had that win over Mills earlier in the year. I have him in the finals, beating Damien in the semis. But I think Damien's probably going to have more of a tougher road in those first 2 rounds than Curtis does. No offense. But on that other side too, you don't know much about Oak Hill at this point, but 33-1, they were at Team State. That J.C. Herring's obviously seen some competition, and then you've also got Wyatt Miller, Zadalak on that end, and Streeter's no slouch either. It's definitely a loaded bracket and some really good ticket round matches there. I actually have Curtis winning it all, and Zadalak over Miller in the semifinals.
And then Damien as for third, I assume.
Yep, Damien in for third.
Yeah, Mike, and what's your comments on this weight?
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I have just the depth of the weight overall. I think is pretty good. There's a lot of good kids here. I got to see a couple of guys. Flores, obviously, he placed at the Al Smith, right? He was a placer, right? I think he was 7th. Curtis, 3 losses, all at 13. Beat Mills, who obviously yesterday I was really talking up. He beat Graham Rooks for a middle school state title last year. I think that he's a really good wrestler. I have him in the finals also. I have him beating Demeen in the semis. On the bottom, I have Wyatt Miller over J.C. Herring. Thought Wyatt Miller's kind of peaking at the right time. X-rated, pushing him pretty good. And then I got Streeter into the semis, but I have Wyatt Miller over Streeter. I have Streeter 4th. I got Curtis, Miller, Demeen, Streeter.
Yeah, that Zadalik and Hunter Watts match is going to be pretty good. I think Watts is pretty solid. He's been wrestling. He has a good schedule. I mean, those are 7 solid losses. I think that's going to be a good one. That bottom bracket with Streeter, Watts, and Zadalik going to be a good one. Should be a good match. Wyatt Miller, Tanner Schoaf should be a good match too, I think. Schoaf's pretty solid. He beat Shear at conference, and he has some good training partners and stuff, so I think he might, there's upset alert there. I mean, you don't really think of Central Noble being good, but they have some really good young kids. I've seen a lot of them personally, so they're gonna be ones to watch in the future. They have some good freshmen and sophomores. So should be a good weight. I'm excited for this one, just because there's a lot of good matches early on, and even quarterfinals, semis, and finals. I'm looking forward to the Zadalik Watts versus Streeter. I haven't seen Zadalik, and there's some people that talked him up that he's the real deal, which I totally believe. I got to see it,
Right.
So we'll move on to 113. A little more even of a weight class with their top guys. Mike, how about you kind of start it off?
Okay, I think kind of the same as the other one. Like I didn't see that out real well. I think Jeffrey Davis, obviously the semifinalist, I have him qualifying, and then Josh Stevenson, I have him qualified on the bottom. I have him beating Hunter Whitman in the tick around. I have Davis actually going to the finals there. But I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, Stevenson wrestled a really tough schedule. He's been there. But right now, I'm going to go with the semifinalists at 13, Davis. On the top, I'm going with Christian Mejia over Zach Johnson and Jabin Wright. And I'm going to go with Mejia in the finals. I got Davis winning the semi-state over Mejia. And then Stevenson, then Wright.
What do you have?
I have it the exact same way. I got to see Johnson a couple times, Zach Johnson from Huntington North. It kind of a rough draw for him. I think if he would have been in a different quarter bracket, he might have been able to knock off Jabin Wright from Kokomo, or probably had a better shot at beating Josh Stevenson than he does Christian Mejia. But I've got it the same way. I've got Davis over Mejia in the finals and Stevenson third.
Yeah, there aren't too many matches that kind of jump out at you as far as this way. It looks like there's about 4 or 5 pretty good guys, and then there's a little bit of a drop off. But that's where you wrestle the matches. I mean, there's some guys that aren't too bad. That Trevor Boyce from DeKalb, I know I've seen him a lot, and he's solid. But running into Jeffrey Davis isn't exactly where you want to be put there. So, and I think Hunter Whitman's pretty good. He was in a pretty good weight class last year, and him and Stevenson should be a pretty good ticket round match there.
And I think one of the things for Davis too is I think I know that he's been in some spots where he's got composure. I think he keep his composure there.
Yep. Moving on, 120. That was easy. 113 was pretty easy. 120. This will be a fun one. There's pretty good guys here, all gonna wrestle each other. Looks like Mike decided to leave us. No. Dane, what's your?
He hates 120.
Yeah.
No, I had to get some water. Sorry.
Just walking off. Drop the mic. Dane, what's your thoughts on 120?
Well, as soon as the bracket came out, the first thing you notice is that, at least according to your Fort Wayne semi-state rankings, the top 4 guys are separated. From a Belmont point of view, that works out perfectly for Mendez because he was facing a draw against Langelo or Glogowski if he doesn't get this draw that he's got. So, that's kind of what you hope for, is to get those guys separated. I saw Hunt the last on Saturday. He looked really, really good. I'm not sure if Mendez is going to be able to touch him if they meet for third and fourth. But I think that Langelo Glogowski may be top 2 or 3 matches we see all day in the finals.
Yeah, I mean Langelo and Hunt in the semis is going to be a good one. So that's a.
And I think this is a weight where Fort Wayne could really score some points next weekend at Bankers Life. I mean, I think if they get the right draw, this is potentially a weight where they could eke out 3 wins on Friday night.
Oh, definitely. So you have Glogowski and Langelo in the finals?
Yep, with Langelo on top.
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. What do you have here, Mike?
I like Austin Moore, Hunter Langelo tick around there. Just a tough matchup. I think Austin Moore, being a sophomore, another one of the Central Noble kids, 42-4 or 42-2. I got Langelo advancing. I have, I thought Gimson, even with 11 losses for Jimtown, I thought he's had a good season. But I have Hunt advancing there. I have Mendez advancing also, and Glukowski over Moser.
What?
I know.
You're fired.
Just go with the state qualifier there. Come on now.
No, I gotta give you a good time.
Mine's a little different. I got Blake winning. I have Hunt in the finals with Glukowski. I have Hunt over Langelo in the semis, and then I have Langelo third, Mendez 4.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think all 3 of those guys, those top 3 guys, that definitely a little bit separated themselves. They all have a little bit different styles. Glogowski is just kind of a silent assassin. I've had him on. He's been a girl F 2 times, and he doesn't overwhelm you by looks or something. Next thing you know, you're on your back. He's pretty tough in pretty much every position. And then Langelo,
I kind of went back to when he beat Langelo, or when Langelo beat him, I was shocked. So I don't know if maybe I'm sleeping on Langelo a little bit, or a little high on Glukowski, or a little high on Hunt. I slept on Hunt last year. Obviously, I didn't even have him getting a medal. Then he goes out and gets a medal. I think he's really tough. So
yeah,
I have Glukowski with it either way.
Glogowski and Hunt or Langelo wrestled 2 years ago in the ticket round, and Langelo beat him. So Langelo's kind of had his number a little bit. I don't know if it's just a matchup. Langlo has that throwing. He obviously been Colton Cummings as a sophomore at State. So that's one of those things that he has that, and people are a little bit afraid to totally attack, and it kind of sets up shots, sets up everything. If you have that little hesitation to not get tossed to your back and given up for 5. So and Hunt's just solid in all the positions. So that'll be an interesting one at in the all day semifinals on. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the Moore and Langlo match they wrestled a few times in middle school, I think. But Langlo was just a little bit older, obviously, so he had a little bit of an advantage. So it could be interesting. I think Moore can wrestle, and I've seen him wrestle before, so should be a good ticket round match. Moving on to 126, we'll have Mike. You can start it off.
Starting off. We'll go. Let's start at the top. Travis Davenport, 32-2. I was at ISSWC. I don't remember watching any of his matches. The article for the Fort Wayne semi-state today. I got to go to the hashtag WAYL2. Chris Lloyd, Iron Bear trained from Hamilton Heights. I was impressed with Zane Sandridge at the Al Smith. I know some of the guys from Maryville. He wrestled De La Pena pretty tough when he was undefeated at the time. I have Zane getting through in that bracket right there. But Travis Davenport being a senior, and I know that he's been on the watch list now for 2 years, being at the semi-state. But I guess I'm picking the upset there. Not because Joe, obviously I'm going to pick against a lot of Carroll guys tonight, not because Joe's on the show.
Just like you're picking against all the Carmel guys Tuesday?
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to pick against the Madison guys.
I think Metro B would have enjoyed you being able to do that.
Yeah. That was a little joke. I like Triple B a lot. So I got Becker. I've been a John Becker fan ever since I very first saw him at the Al Smith. I think that very hard-nosed. I think, unfortunately, last year he was injured. Tough draw. I think he's going to be in the finals for me. Also, I'm a huge Christian Mejia fan. But I also, Yorktown wrestled a tough schedule, so Alex Baugh has 11 losses, but I'm sure there are 11 good losses if there's a good loss. But also I like Taylor Lechner from Western. I know he's pretty solid, but I got Mejia there. And Mejia Franklin in the I have Mejia and Franklin in the semis. That'd be tough. I got Mejia. I have Becker, Mejia. I have Mejia, Becker, Franklin,
Standridge. Yeah. Yeah, that's Marcus Mejia, by the way.
Tom Smith. I don't remember who beat who there.
Who beat who where?
Becker and Mejia.
7-4 Mejia.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I picked right. Not so far.
Yeah.
My big question at 126, Joe, was how did you not get Standridge seated at the Al Smith?
Because he was JV last year.
I know, but he was 24-4, or is that his record?
He was like 24-1. He only had one loss going in. That was Rhodes up a weight.
If he doesn't draw De La Pena in that first round, he's not placing. What did he get? 7th or 8th?
He got 8th. Yeah.
8th. Yeah. I mean that was a tough draw that set him up. He probably could have been better off. He ends up losing to what? Hardesty in the losers bracket.
Yeah, he lost him by 1 or 2.
Yeah, 126 is a pretty good weight there. I actually have Becker in the finals also. One of Belmont's Mambas. And I actually have Franklin over Mejia in the semifinals. Franklin's always looked good against Belmont, so maybe that's where I'm getting my opinion from. But I think any of those three guys could win it, Becker, Franklin, or Mejia. But I'm actually going with my student, John Becker, as the champion at 126.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
No, and I agree with you. I kind of scanned over Franklin, but I seen Franklin last year at the Northern Indiana Challenge, and he beat Cody Crary there, and I thought he looked really good. he's really tough on top. So I wouldn't be surprised if he won that semifinal match either.
Yeah, and then that's sort of been his calling card the last couple of years. Is I know he had a match with Kyle Davis earlier in the year that he won 1-0. I mean, that may be the question. If it's Becker and Franklin in the finals, can Becker get to his feet where he's probably a little bit better than Franklin, or is he going to get ridden out, second or third period?
Yeah, definitely should be some good wrestling there. I think some of the ticket rounds, Franklin will have Brockhouse or Chad Elmore. Solid kids. I don't think they're on Franklin's level, but at the same time, it's the ticket round, and Franklin's been there. He's a 3-time regional champ, I'm pretty certain, and just he had some rough draws. I think he drew Glagowski last year, and let's see, he lost to Glagowski last year. Then the year before, he wrestled Lucas Long and lost in the quarters. So he's had some bad luck there. Hopefully he will. You got to root for a kid that's been so close, 3-time regional champ. So.
It is tough. Lucas Long did have a nice mohawk.
Yes, that's and it was dyed blue.
Right?
I don't know what it was that week. I lost track, but but no, it should be some good wrestling there. Especially early on, should be some great matches. We'll look at 132. Let Dane start it off with his picks here.
Best weight class at the tournament by far. Loaded. I think you've got 4 possible champions, and luckily all 4 of those guys are separated in different quarter brackets. And it was nice that it worked out that way. I mean, there's some other decent names in there. Duddleston from Jay County's had some really good wins. Obviously, Ray Pole would have been nice to see him in there also, and would have added to that ticket round. And the Marion kid and the Fairfield kid, Maggard and Yoder, aren't bad either. I think Rhodes comes out of the top. He's obviously had some huge wins this year. I'm going to take Lovano to win his ticket round match over Duddleston from Jay County. I have Gunsit qualifying, and then Doster. Doster has had Gunsit's number for years now, it seems, so I have him in the finals. And I'm going with Rhodes over Lovano. I think Rhodes just had a lot of experience this year. Some really, really nice wins. Anytime you can beat Zach Mello, that says something, and I think he beat him twice this year. So Rhodes and Doster again in the finals. This will be, the 4th time they've seen each other?
Yes.
But Doster's won the last 2. I'm gonna reverse it and put Rhodes on that top spot. Doster 2, and Gunsit over Lovano for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, that should be a good weight class, and I'm, Kobe being out, kind of, tough luck, I guess, and definitely never want to see a senior go out, right before the big tournament. But sometimes health is a little bit more important than a lousy wrestling match. Mike, what's your take here?
Obviously, I think I've been a Drake Rhodes fan for 2 years now. I got Drake Rhodes advancing over Noah Richardson. Richardson's tough though, so I don't think that's not the match. I'm sure he doesn't want first match overall, but I have Rhodes. I have Lovano. 14-0, had state qualifier last year as a freshman. Middle school state champ, where he beat Zach Mello also at middle school state that year, and Brooks Wortheren. I actually have Lovano in the finals. I haven't beaten Drake Rhodes.
You say you're a Rhodes fan, then you have him getting beat.
I know. I gotta play with the heart right now. I'm going right off the top of my head. I don't have it written down yet. Then I'm going with Gunsit to win there, and Doster, and I have Doster in the final. I have Doster winning, Lovano, Rhodes, and Gunsit.
Yeah, should be some good matches. I'm really looking forward to this weight. And I think Doster will be pushed by Maggard and Yoder. I think Yoder's had some good wins. Maggard obviously is pretty solid. So it should be an interesting first couple rounds. But luckily the bracket gods were on our. I mean, we're on the side of the wrestlers at this weight.
Normally, this is where I say that no one wants to draw this weight Friday night, but I think the other semi-state champs are pretty good too. Because, I mean, a 4 here could draw Chad Red, Nick Lee, possibly Brennan Black. I know Gunsit and Brennan Black have gone back and forth. So maybe, if they draw East Chicago, but...
Yeah, the only safe route here for Fort Wayne is to win because you've got Lee and Malloy on the same side. So you finish runner-up, you're drawing Malloy, potentially. You finish third, you're looking at Mello on Friday night, potentially. I mean, it's, like you said, Doster, if he wins it, he's going to have 4 great matches to get there. But, this is a weight where Fort Wayne could go 3-1 on Friday night, or it's easily a weight where Fort Wayne could go 1-3.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
and that's just kind of, that's the blind draw of it, and that's kind of, not a good thing, but, I mean, it is what it is.
Exactly. That should be, I mean, you guys are both right with that. You look any other year, you could say those 4 guys could possibly go 4-0 on Friday night. There's no doubt. But then when you have 2 top 3 guys in the country that one of them's going to possibly run into, that's not good.
Oh yeah, that's the worst draw you can get. Those guys. One guy that only had 1 match in his career not ended bonus points, and another guy that's going for a 4-state title.
And he's pinned everyone in like 15 seconds or less the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he actually pins people faster than it takes me to eat dinner.
He spends less mat. I spend more time on the mat than he does at the tournament, yelling at the refs. Nice.
Yeah.
Joe, who's your champ at 132?
I gotta go with Doster. Doster's, he's wrestling well. I want to say he wasn't really in too much danger against Rhodes on Saturday. I didn't see him in. I mean, he's had Gunsit's number. I mean,
Yes, he has.
Yeah, and I think if it must be the red hair or something. I guess I don't know. But,
and he's an extremely good athlete.
Yes. Oh yeah. His dad was a Major League Baseball player, so he might be a decent athlete. I think he's pretty good at baseball, from what I assume. I'm gonna go out on a pretty strong limb there, but I think Doster's a little bit better than the other 2 or other 3. I think Rhodes gets Lobano. I think Rhodes has been pushed too much during the season. In practice, he has some good partners. I think just Fernando not being in. I mean, you put Fernando in a room with any of the other 3, and he's gonna be battle tested a little bit more. So I think that might kind of come back to haunt him a little bit this Saturday. Moving on to 138, should be another good weight class. Got about 4 or 5 guys that kind of got separated. It looked like from. I mean, for once that there aren't too many death draws and killer, cringeworthy draws in Fort Wayne. I think the IGSA's taking it easy on us for a couple of years. Mike, what's your take on here?
I would, even though I know the major is gonna be upset, I got Sage Boy winning that quarter. No, that's just,
#SAC.
Yeah. No, Sage Boy obviously have to win the semi-state, but I think that he's looking to win a state title, and I think he could be in the mix at 38. Obviously, he's a phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal athlete. I have Riley Rassler, qualifying up top. I know they were giving me the business early on whenever he wasn't ranked, but he's 47-3. They wrestle a lot of tough guys, and he's obviously, put a lot of good matches together. So I have him over another. I haven't seen Skylar Hall, so 35-3 obviously is a really good record. I don't know. I didn't look at the article to see if you had his losses up there.
Arnie,
all 3 of them?
No, one of them.
I was like, okay, there we go.
No, Arnie, T.T. Allen, and Brad Smith from Mississinawa.
Okay. And I see Brad Smith in here.
That's the best cheat sheet ever for your pick'ems. I don't know what is.
I know.
I put myself behind the 8 ball. I'm gonna lose Fort Wayne semi-state because I put so much information out.
On the bottom, P.T. Allen is one of Hall's losses, but the first round match between Zeus Brown and Nathan Haushalter, I think the winner of that's going to qualify. That's to my state before. I like Zeus there. You know, I know that he's an old Muncie Southside kid, carrying on the tradition for
That's right.
for those guys. And then the four here with Arnie, Colt Rudder, Blank Corp. I think that's pretty good. That's a four right there. I don't know too much about Lorenzo Trevino, but Rudder Corp should whoever wins that match should be a good match with Arnie in the ticket around there, and I guess just whoever shows up. I'll go Arnie this time, and then I'm gonna go Arnie to make the finals, and I have Brown fourth.
Nice. Corey's looked pretty good to the. He's mean. He's out there too.
Yes, he is. That's the comment I kept making all day Saturday.
Yeah, he's not out there to make friends with you. He's not gonna follow you on Twitter after he beats you or anything. He's going to beat you, then beat you. How you have this lining up there, Dane?
I actually have Coy and Brown in the finals. That was this will be the fourth time I think they've seen each other, but I think Brown gets the better of Rudder in the semifinals. I know they were overtime at sectional. Maybe I'm weighing Rudder and Brown too high and discounting Arnie, but I just think the guys have been back and forth, and they've been pushed by Coy all year. But I mean, I think that's going to be a really good match. Those guys know each other. You know, three guys from the same sectional that just continually beat up on each other. But I wouldn't sleep on Rassler either. Prairie Heights has had such a great year. He's got a nice setup in those first two matches, I think. He may not beat Coy, but I mean, I think he definitely has a shot at third there.
Definitely. Should be some good matches. I think that the Corp and Rudder match is going to be interesting. Corp, I think he's a cousin of the ones that were state runner-up, state champ, but that's obviously some decent bloodlines and a good team there. I think that'll be a good first-round match. Zeus Brown and Nathan Haushalter will be a good one also. I think Haushalter is a little bit deceiving with his losses, but he's pretty solid. And I know he's been to semi-state a couple times already. 145.
Dane picks against your guy. You don't give him the business.
I expect him to. He's from Belmont. Hey, that's probably about the only. I'm sure. You know, I've seen enough picks online on the board. No one picks the Carroll guys. They don't like me. I'm used to Belmont hating.
Oh, but we gave you guys the dream draw at Team State. Remember?
Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome for that dream draw.
Yes. Too bad we.
All right. We're still on that.
So move on to 145. This would be a good one. I think there's a lot of good guys. We do have a semi-death draw here, but I think that was more of a wrestler's own making than anything else. Eicher, Laughlin, and Weimer all returning state placers. Weimer just was down to 126 last year. Laughlin and Eicher were both at 38. Laughlin beat Eicher by 1, I believe, at semi-state last year. So it should be some good wrestling. Dane, what's your take on here?
Yeah, I think Laughlin and Eicher were like 3-2 last year in the semifinals. I have Eicher, Kern, Laughlin, and Jamal Scott as there again, picking against Carroll again, as your qualifiers. You know, this has been the year of Kenny Kern and Jimtown. I mean, he's been great this year, but I think Eicher is probably going to be a lot of people looking past him when it comes next weekend. But I think Eicher and Laughlin for sure in the finals, Kern third. I don't know, I went back and forth. I saw Laughlin last weekend. He looked really good. You know, I've got him written down as first, but I think that's really a toss-up.
Yeah. Him and Weimer is going to be interesting. Weimer just hasn't gotten his feet underneath him at 145. It doesn't look like. That's going to be one. I mean, Weimer's a good wrestler, and he's very, very smart, tactical wrestler. I don't know how he's going to deal with Laughlin's size, because from everything I've seen, Laughlin is not a small 145-pounder.
No, he's not. You know, the radio guys on WZBD were texting me midway through the day after they'd seen Laughlin twice, and they said, "Who beat that kid?" And I said, "Yeah, his loss is at 160 against. Where do you have Whitaker ranked, Mike? 5th?
Yeah, he's up.
Yeah.
That's a quality loss.
Yeah.
For a 45-pounder.
Yes. Mike, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, pretty much the same way as Dane. I have Eichert. Kenny Curran obviously has been on a tear, you know, and not that I don't want to say that I was sleeping on him, but you know, at Dallas Smith, I think he really broke out and just started, you know, beating a lot of really good kids. But I mean, Eichert got some medal. I have Eichert in the finals over Kern. I have Kern taking 3rd. I have Laughlin winning it. Brad Laughlin probably looking towards a state title right now. You know, and if they didn't have McCormick at 52, he probably would be trying to be in the mix for a state title at 52 instead of 45 because 60 is a long way away from 45. The bottom. You know, that's a good draw. And I'm sure one of the other guys, maybe Brasher, Deshaun Bayless, Weimer would have liked that draw, one of those draws in there. But obviously, you know, Deshaun Bayless, 35-10. I know he's had some tough losses against some guys from up our way. I'm gonna go with I don't know. That one's a toss-up for me. Little bit pick. Did he pick Jamal Scott?
Yeah, he did.
I did.
I'm gonna go Robinson then.
Oh, no, still no love for Carroll.
No
Got a
love.
little freshman
No
there.
love for Hicks.
Nah.
I didn't even try to say Robinson's first name. Shan Hantrall.
Good attempt.
Chantrail. I don't know. We can ask their coach about that. What his name is. But yeah, that bottom quarterback. I think anyone can come out of that one. I think Laughlin's pretty solid over there. Kern's he likes to play spoiler, so you definitely can't overlook him. And unfortunately, him and Eichert didn't wrestle at Team State. Kim Tom bumped him up. Not saying that he avoided Eichert, but it was for team. But so we didn't get to see that match, and I know that was one I wanted to kind of peek over on. So moving on.
I'm trying to win a state title over there.
Yeah. Yes. Moving on. 152. This one has some interesting ticket round matches. Some ones that kind of piqued my interest. You know, when I looked at the brackets and kind of after I did my preview, I'm like, ooh, this might be interesting. Doug Levitz, possibly Hunter Bates. Bates beat him earlier in the year at Team State, and I think he majored him, didn't he?
It was 10-3.
Yeah, or almost majored him. Might as well have majored him. So that's going to be interesting there. It's hard to ever pick against a Levitz when it's tournament time. They have that thing you just can't figure out, but they do well. Going down, you have Cross Dietrich, who both of his losses are out of state kids, so he doesn't have an in-state loss actually. And then Tyler versus Tyler Leonard or Brody Hardcastle, which should be a pretty good match. Dietrich isn't a senior, is he? I have him listed as a senior. I thought he was a junior. Maybe I'm wrong.
Sure.
I'll have to look. Then returning state qualifier Peyton Sturgill and Cale McCormick, who has 2 medals. So, Mike, what's your take?
Yeah, I have. I think McCormick is the class of the weight here. Obviously, last year Friday night he was upset, but Garrett Griffin, I know we were waiting for him to come back. That's a tough draw for him. I think McCormick gets through there. I have Sturgill getting through. I have McCormick over Sturgill. Up top, and those are tough matches because I try to work Bates in a couple times into the rankings, and he would keep losing to Leonard. I think he beat Leonard now, right? And then he beat Levitz, but then he would lose to Leonard. So I have Levitz and Cross Dietrich, and I have Levitz in the finals being a runner-up to McCormick.
Yeah, you're picking against the Generals' boy Nick Miller.
No, I'm not. I had to go back. Let me go back.
You did mention Nick Miller last night. You
I
got
know.
love. It's just not no relation, I don't think.
Maybe that's. I mean, 90s, 99. So maybe it's this kid.
What's your take on this, Dane?
Yeah, I think when people look at that top quarter bracket, they obviously see Levitz and Bates in the ticket round, and you look at the record and you see 46-3. But Bates had a couple of early losses when he was still transitioning from halfback to 52-pounder. The loss to Leonard was in the duel early on. Since then, he hasn't had any trouble with Leonard, I don't think. And Bates has 2 losses to McCormick. And a loss to Pruitt in that duel with Warren Central and Ben Davis that they go to. And I mean, hard to argue against a 10-3 win at Team State for Bates. So I have him advancing over Levitz. Dietrich beating Leonard in the ticket round. I think that'll be a good match. Obviously, Leonard was good enough to beat Bates earlier in the year. Interestingly enough, I think Leonard actually has a loss to Van Allen at Connorsville too. I don't know much about Hardcastle. I tried to look up some results, but didn't see a whole lot. Based on what some of the other Oak Hill guys have, 8 losses is a decent amount for Oak Hill. I know he got pinned by the Monrovia stock kid, the match that I saw him at Team State. So I have Dietrich, and then I have Sturgill, and obviously McCormick. McCormick, I think, wins this weight class easily. He had no problem with Bates last week at Jay County. I have Bates over Dietrich in the semifinals, and then Sturgill over Dietrich. I don't know much about Dietrich's 2 losses out of state, but I just haven't seen a whole lot of wins from him. He wrestled a pretty close match with the Belmont 152-pounder Laughlin in the duel. That's the one match that I've seen him this year. So I have Dietrich 4th.
Yeah, I mean, this weight, I think everyone got separated. There's no real. I mean, I think Garrett Griffin probably got the worst jaw. He's been coming off an injury, had some kind of shaky losses. He might be getting back into wrestling shape and stuff. Suffered an injury first play of the scrimmage in football, and it's coming back already, so that's pretty good. Moving on, 160. Only one returning state qualifier. That's Garmin from Carroll. Past that, and I think it's pretty open weight class. Should be some good weights, some good matches, ticket round matches, all the way through. We'll let you take it, Dane.
I have Garmin advancing in that first top quarter bracket. I think the best ticket round match in the top half, they're definitely going to be Blaney Harrison and T.C. Perry. Although long breaks, no slouch either. Perry looked really good at sectional against Bussy. Last week, Bussy seemed to make some adjustments and do a little bit better against him. But Perry beat Bussy last year too, and I think is right there. The next quarter bracket, Levitz and Potter, it's another one where people might look at that bracket and immediately levitate towards Levitz. But, I mean, Potter beat him, levitate towards Levitz.
Yes.
Potter beat him earlier in the year, and it wasn't even close. So I think that's one where people might overlook Potter a little bit there. So I actually have him beating Levitz in the ticket round. And then I think Bussy has a good match with Heinsberger that he's seen, and then Reed also, who he's also seen. So another one of the Mambas making it through. Bussy over Potter. Potter's an old Belmont guy, so Bussy's going to see a lot of guys that he's really familiar with. And then I have Garmin over T.C. Perry, and then Garmin and Bussy in the finals. I'm trying to remember who placed where at the Al Smith. They didn't see each other.
Garmin had pulled it out after the second day, so they never.
That's right.
So I think.
So and Bussy had that 1-point loss to Rader at Mishawaka. He's looked really good. He looked really good last week at regional. I think that's a really good match. It's probably a toss-up between the two. I'll put Bussey's name down just because that's who I am. And
I wouldn't think any more. I'd think less of you if you pick someone else.
That's right.
They'd write an editorial in the Decatur Tribune.
And then I have Perry over Potter for third and fourth.
Yeah. It didn't look like Perry and Long Break wrestled at New Haven. I was just looking that up. That should be a good first round match.
Definitely.
And that's when I'm kind of in. I mean, that whole and then them versus Harrison. Blaney Harrison, he beat Rader at least once. So that should be a good match there. So that quarter bracket's kind of a toss up.
I know who Blaney Harrison's only losses to. He was the guy that stopped wrestling right away, right?
Yeah, that was it was Will Bratcher who didn't wrestle at sectional.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, that's if you remember Jackson Bratcher, that's his brother.
Yep, I do remember Jackson Bratcher.
He was kind of
wore a headband out there, like a rolled up headband.
Yeah, he was kind of thick.
Yeah.
He knew where the weight limit was. Mike, what's your take on this? Are you gonna?
Yeah, man, I'm going with Evan Hemelgar from Jay County, in the upset special. And don't get me wrong, that's not a shot at Evan Hemelgar. I just knew that, and I like some of his results this year. I have Garmin actually winning the semi-state coming out of there. Obviously, and not to just talk you up because you're my guy, but I know that he puts a lot of hard work in. He's wrestled all the time. I like his dad. I know that he's tough, and I think when he's there and he's there, he shows up and he's not injured because I didn't get to see him at the Al Smith. That's in that sense, but I think he can wrestle with almost anyone, and I know that he's had some results in the summer that kind of say the same thing at 160. So I like Garmin to win. I have Bussey in the final, same as Dane. I have Blaney Harrison over T.C. Perry from Oak Hill, getting Oak Hill State qualifier. And I have Nick Potter. So I have Nick Potter third. So I have Garmin, Bussey, Potter, Harrison.
Sounds good. Should be a good weight. Definitely semifinals and finals are going to be fun to watch. You got to have that Carroll versus Belmont rivalry going on. And I'm sure if my favorite radio guys, AJ's going to be saying some
all
nice
over
things. 170. This one, as we start going up the weight, pretty much up 70 through heavyweight. A lot of toss-up matches, a lot of good matches just from start to finish. Returning state qualifier Zach Davis, Bryce Baumgartner qualifier last year, two-time qualifier. Jacob Gray was a placer last year, I think 6th. Pretty good weight class overall. Gray and Baumgartner had round 1. I know they work out together a lot, and so they're winning. I know Baumgartner won last week, but they wrestled last year. Was it one time or is it 2 that they wrestled?
They wrestle at semi-state also
I
last year.
Don't know. So I think Gray was in the finals. Let me look that up. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Baumgartner was hurt.
Yeah.
At semi-state.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. You can talk it up, and then I'll find that result.
So, up top, I'm going to go with a guy I slept on for 2 years now. He's going to get through. Zach Davis from Fort Wayne, Concordia Lutheran. I have him getting through. I didn't even have him ranked last year. He was undefeated going in the state tournament, and he just keeps proving me wrong. So, no disrespect to Zach Davis. Congratulations. From last year, I know that on the show, I think I picked against him last year. I won't pick against him this year. Another great season. So sometimes I'm wrong too. I like Deshaun Barberry. I know he's had some solid results, but I mean he kind of drew a tough draw there with Bryce Baumgartner. Obviously 36-1. His lone loss was to Drew Hughes, which obviously, if in the world of good losses, that's probably about the best one you can get. But I do think Deshaun is a tough wrestler, so I'm glad he's a junior. He'll be back next year. A lot of juniors and sophomores in here, it looks like. Quentin Moore, Jacob Gray, another junior, 36-1, 34-1. I have Jacob Gray. And I was actually telling Joe before the state series, I said, man, I was really down on Nick Ritchie because he didn't place at the Al Smith. And then I look back, and those are only 2 losses he had was at the Al Smith. And I know Elkhart Memorial wrestles a pretty solid schedule, so sometimes you have a bad day. I have him getting through. I have it Gray, Baumgartner, kind of switching it up from last week. Then I have Richie, Davis.
Yeah, it should be. I know. I was looking at 70 in our sectional and regional were pretty tough. You have Parton, Davis, and Tate Burns, and they all. I mean, they're battling out. They're trying to not get the death drawn into Baumgartner or Richie. Unfortunately, one of them did. Dane, what's your take on this weight?
I am going with my second SAC state qualifier and Zach Davis on the night in that top quarter bracket. That's right.
They have the same amount of Carol for Dane.
Yeah. Good. You have more love for SAC than you do Carroll. What's going on here?
SAC better than Carroll. I'm all aboard the Generals train.
And an Heavy Hands T-shirt on. No, I'm just joking.
I've got another one of the Mambas for Belmont qualifying for state. I think Bryce should come out of that quarter bracket pretty easily. Gray draws a kid 36-1. That's no easy task, but I think it's Gray and Baumgartner in the finals again. Those two were close. It was right at the buzzer last week, and I think it's going to be another great final again. I have Richie coming out of the bottom. Burns is a guy that's probably under the radar for a lot of people, but like you said, Richie, he loses to Coy Park in the first round at the Al Smith, and then comes back, and I'm trying to think of who his other loss was to. He ends up losing.
Chesterton.
Yeah, and doesn't get to place. He's had a good year after that. I have Baumgartner winning. He looked good enough on his feet to beat Gray again, so I have him first over Gray. And then I have Richie third and Davis fourth.
Look at us, except for the championship.
You know he's not going to pick against Belmont.
I know, because he had parent-teacher conferences today. I understand what's going on here.
After Baumgartner gets that C, you gotta boost his confidence a little bit.
Oh no, he's a Spanish student. I don't claim him.
Well, that's awkward.
Yeah, that's kind of I'd go against him if he's a Spanish student. Wayne 82. Thank goodness the bracket gods kind of kept everyone apart from each other till at least quarters. I know this is when Dane was probably the first one you looked at, I'm sure, as when the brackets came out, because there's so many potential ugly matches, and again, it looks like if you would probably seed this tournament, you'd probably put these guys very similar in this order in their spots in the bracket. Dane, what do you have here?
Yeah, like you said, this could have been an absolute disaster. You could have had Hankinson and Blakely in the ticket round, and Kohler and Eli, two top 5 guys in the state, facing off in the ticket round. Thankfully, it is the way it is. Don't sleep on a Graber from Northridge, though. I think Hankinson's going to have a good match with him, but I have Hankinson coming out of that top quarter. Lorenzo Reyes hasn't been bad. He looked pretty good this past weekend, but Blakely looked really good at the Al Smith and has had a really good season since then. So I have Blakely and Hankinson in that semi. And then Clem and Kohler in the ticket round. I know those two saw each other last year, if I remember right, in the ticket round, so that's kind of tough luck for Clem. But I'm going to take Kohler there. And then I have Eli coming out of that bottom quarter. I know Eli and Kohler have wrestled a couple times in the last couple of years. I'm going to go with Eli into the finals. In the other semifinal, Hankinson and Blakely, they were, I think, 1 point in the second or third period at the Al Smith for 5th and 6th, and we're right there. But I think the Caleb Hankinson that wrestled in December is not the same Caleb Hankinson that's been wrestling here in January and February. I don't think Kohler had been taken down headed into sectionals, and Hankinson's taken him down 5 times now, I think, in 2 matches. So I'm going to take Hankinson into the finals and then losing to Eli. So I've got Eli first, Hankinson second, Kohler third, and Blakely fourth.
Sounds good, Mike. What do you have here?
Kind of the same thing. I have Hankinson advancing there. Nixon Graber, I think, would be a good first-round match. In the ticker round, obviously, that's tough, but I have Hankinson advancing there. Then I have Joey Blakely. I was really impressed with Joey Blakely. I felt like he was a big 182. I felt like he was I think you told me that he throws hay around, which I believe you. So,
He's from Prairie Heights. That's a class. How to stack hay bales.
He's probably good. He's probably getting an A in that class. He didn't have to have teacher conference today on that. He's all, obviously, and not to give too much of the business, but that's a tough draw first round. But you're 31-5 and 45-3. That's just kind of a tough break. I do think that Joey Blakely advances in there, so I have Blakely and Hankinson in that semi. Tough break for Wyatt Clem being a senior. Both those guys, honestly, you have 2 seniors, Andy Kohler, Wyatt Clem. Kohler 41-1. He was at state last year, so I have Kohler advancing, and David Eli obviously is a beast. David Eli. I have David Eli in the championship. I'm gonna stick with the result from the Al Smith. I haven't seen him since, so I haven't seen Hankinson since Team State. I have Blakely, Eli, Blakely, Hankinson, Kohler.
Just a side note, if you guys are looking at who your losses to on that one, Eli has a loss to Alejandro Castro from Wawasee, I believe. That was by DQ. I assume it was a slam or something of that nature, but don't quote me on that. His other 2 losses are some Cam Jones fella, so he's pretty tough. He's a former Gorilla, so I like him. I think he's
good. He lost to Cam Jones. I'm going to switch my whole pick. I don't want to pick
so should be good. I mean, you look at Clem and Kohler, 2 years in a row. Clem wins the regional and comes out with probably the worst draw he could possibly get. He would have been better off getting second or third possibly in that area. So 195. This will be a fun one. Very much like 182, except for you don't have the separation. You just have a lot of guys that, you can pick this weight, 12, 15 different ways probably. What's your take here, Mike?
I'm going to start in the bottom. I like Isaiah Baumgartner in that first match to be in the ticker round with Luke Elliott, but I'm going to go with Luke Elliott. I think that was a good move for him to go from 82 to 95. I think, Baumgartner being a sophomore, I think he has a bright future, but I think I'm going to go with the senior there. Scotty Evans, Gross Nickel. We were talking beforehand. Scotty Evans being a state qualifier last year. And Gross Nickel, every time I've seen him or I've seen results from him, he's always surprising to me. It's very much like, he was losing by 5 and then he pinned some guys. Like, okay. And it's not like bad guys because obviously I think Drew Williamson is out really good. But, I'm going to go with Scotty Evans there. And after I just talked all that up, I'm going with Scotty Evans, returning state qualifier. Sorry, Joe. Corbin Maddox, also, I think, a very good move for him to move from 182 to 95 because you eliminate that possibility of drawing a David Eli if you don't win your regional, which turned out to be a pretty tough regional. But Eric Hobbs is obviously tough. He was Al Smith finalist, senior. I think Maddox gets him, but I wouldn't sleep on that match. Actually, I think Nate Williams was pretty tough too, so that could be a good first-round match. And I have Beck Davis over Austin Evans in that. And up top, I got Maddox. Let me write it down. I have Maddox, Elliott, Evans, Davis. Nice article this week, or was it not last week? It was Monday, right? About the Davis brothers.
Yep, definitely. Yes. Beck almost didn't even wrestle. They tried giving him $250, and he said no thanks.
Easy money, right? Then you got him to wrestle anyways.
Yeah, yeah. A little
No,
bit
those guys are huge, man. That set of brothers is like the guys like, oh, I'm gonna call these brothers, and then you got like a 95, 220, and another 895 showing up to have your back. That'd be great.
yeah, yeah. They're great kids. I can't say enough about the family. They're fun, and they're wrestling. They're wrestling crazies, and it's funny because they all started late. They all started 7th, 8th grade, and kind of had to be gently encouraged to wrestle. And I'm glad to see them wrestle because it's good for them and good for the community there. Because they're also decent academically.
Yeah, that's another part of it. Was they're really good students.
Yeah. So, Dane, what's your take here?
Yeah, looking at that top quarter bracket, I mean, Beck Davis, Austin Evans. If you look at some of the commons, every one of them's 5'3", 5'4", 3'2", 4'3". I'm looking at it right now. Ultimate tiebreaker. I mean, these guys are all so close. Evans and Davis have split twice. Looking at some of the other commons, I actually have Austin Evans over Davis in that quarter. I think that's kind of a toss-up, but that's the way I'm leaning. Mike was right. We've got a bunch of 182-pounders in this 195 weight class. But I think they all are going to be happy with the move that they made because it worked out for them. Corbin Maddox is still at 1 loss at this point in the year, and that was to Kohler at the pride of Jay County, the ECIC. I actually have him over Hobbs in the ticket round. I mean, Hobbs looked great at the Al Smith, but from what I've heard about Maddox and the scores that I've seen, I'm taking Maddox. And then I have Scotty Evans qualifying out of that 3rd quarter bracket. And I know.
Imagine that. You have a Carroll kid losing. Jesus.
And
first round.
I'm picking Luke Elliott over Bumgarner in that 4th quarter bracket. Oh, I'm getting a message now that it was not at the ECIC. It was at the Spartan Classic. My apologies.
Oh, jeez.
Throw it all out. You know what? I'm putting Gross-Nickel in. Just mess it up. Also, they said that Corbin Maddox is only the 2nd kid in the school history to win a regional title.
Wow.
First since 1993.
Nice. That's nice. It should be
cool.
An interesting note in this weight class. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Al Smith placers at that weight. Can you name them? You guys
5 placers that. Of course I could.
Beck Davis, Nate Williams from Elkhart Memorial, Eric Hobbs was runner-up, Jared Hayes, and Gross-Nickel. And then there's one other one that didn't even make it to region or semi-state, Michael Leonard from Northwood, who ended up 3rd or 4th, I want to say. So very interesting weight class in this at Fort Wayne. I mean, you almost pretty much had a pretty good preview of it at the Al Smith. Should be a good weight. I'm kind of looking forward to this because there's so many. I mean, the Tyson Whitner Bumgarner first round match should be good, and Bumgarner, I mean, can give Elliott a good match. Elliott, I think, lost by 1 to Adam Central kid that placed last year. I can't think of his name offhand, but in the ticket round, I thought I was just kind of watching over my shoulder, and I thought he might have won. So definitely a good wrestler. So it should be a good day of good wrestling. Day of wrestling pretty much from start to finish there. 220.
Come on, Dave. Flying J.
What's that?
What was the kid's name? He was a medal.
Luganville?
Yes. Yes.
Kane.
He's not.
Right. Mike was low on Luganville last year.
Oh, come on.
We had to set him straight.
Oh, yes. 220, another good weight class, top to bottom. You have some guys got fairly well separated. You got the three guys that are. I mean, a lot of these weights have 2 or 3 guys that separated. I want to say like 120, 126, or some of the weights have 3 guys are pretty well separated. Blake Davis, Evan Ellis, both were at state last year. Ellis was an 8th place finisher. And Derek Paz, who wrestled Davis in the ticket round last year, and Davis won a crazy ending of a match where Paz got like 2 locking hands calls and lost by 1. It was a crazy ending to a match. So, Dane, is it your turn or is it Mike's?
Dane,
you get to break it down.
I have Paz in that first quarter bracket, and I have Joey Pierre in the second quarter. He looked pretty good this past weekend when I saw him. And then Davis and Ellis in the bottom. I think Ellis has this one, but I think he's got a couple of really good matches in the semis and in the finals. Paz probably lucks out being on the opposite side there and letting Ellis and Davis go at it in the semis. So I have Ellis and then Paz second, Davis third, Pierre fourth.
Nice. That should be Paz beat Davis at the Al Smith this year, so I guess if you're gonna seed it, you would probably put Ellis would be number 1, then Paz, and Davis just end up getting a 4 kind of type draw there, but should be a good draw there. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I have Ellis, Paz, Davis. Paz probably gave Kobe Woods his closest match this year at the finals of the Al Smith. So, not that I have Ellis winning it. Paz is runner-up. Davis third. That fourth, tough break for John Isaacson, 34-3 senior. He'll have Paz. That's not that Paz is unbeatable, but that's a tough ticket round match for either of those guys. Where I think either of those guys would have rather had the draw here with Pierre, the regional champ. I don't know too much about all these guys. JT Kilgore, Max Clark, Andrew Miller, but I'll go with the Yorktown senior to qualify, same as Dane.
Yeah, that Isaacson's not bad. I think him and Paz will be a good match in the ticket round. Past that, there's a lot of losses between these guys, and that Pierre, Max Clark, JT Kilgore. I don't know much about Clark. Kilgore's a big kid. He lifts weights, I think. Coach Doc.
I'm gonna go with JT Kilgore. I'm changing.
He lifts weights. I know that. Coach Zach Doc is a monster, so he likes to tell kids to lift weights and yells at them, I think.
I'm giving the 1A Cherubusco team getting some love. I'm getting him through.
Hey, you got Turtletown to state. That's all you. They're the Turtles, the fighting Turtles. So should be some good matches there, especially semifinals and finals. Looking forward to seeing Ellis and Davis were both Gorillas, so got to root for them a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I just said yeah. I was agreeing with you.
Going ahead to 285. This one, I would just flip a coin for pretty much all of these matches. I think that might be. At least you can blame the coin when their picks are wrong here. Lots of great matches from start to finish. Guys that you kind of just don't want to overlook. Some guys that are wrestling well right now. Some guys that are better that might not be wrestling as well. Mike, how are you taking this one?
How am I taking this one? It looks like a lot of good wrestling, like good wrestlers, the guys that are had some quality wins. Braden Shaw's obviously a young heavyweight. I know he had some good kid stuff. I like Amos there, obviously. I think Amos is a tough kid from Prairie Heights. I have him advancing. I haven't seen Nathan Campbell. DeAndre Hodge, Marion, 39-4. I know he was in the semi-state rankings for Joe. I have him advancing. Owen Perkins and Jesse Lawson. That's what I have to kick around. I think that's probably. Let me just scroll down a little bit. That'll probably be the best tick around match.
No pressure.
Matt Valenti, I have him qualifying for Jimtown. Lawson and Perkins, that'd be a good one. Perkins, obviously, 28-1. His only loss was Delphi at the IHSWCA. And Jesse Lawson, 37-5. But he has a lot of good wins because, obviously, you guys wrestled a great schedule. And I know that he beat my boy Slick Rick at the IHSWCA. So on that, I'm going to give Jesse Lawson the nod there to get the – I think Jesse Lawson can make the finals here also. I have Amos. I'm going to go Lawson because he beat my boy Slick Rick.
riding that.
Nah, and that was kind of like when, and not to kind of rub salt, and obviously Ricky Clark will be back next year, but Ricky Clark was on a run right there where he was beating everybody, and Jesse Lawson went out there and beat him, and he had beat that day alone, some really tough guys. So I have Mamalenti 3 and Hodge 4, but I could be completely wrong. The only one I'm actually really sure on would probably be Amos. I feel like Amos, not that he's a lock, but I've seen him a couple times, and I know that he's a big kid and he's kind of a bruiser.
What do you think here, Dane?
Oh, I've been waiting the whole night to finally get on my Carroll bandwagon. I am all Jesse Lawson in this weight class. I have him winning it.
Oh, so you're happy.
Pins all around.
Trying to redeem yourself. You didn't have that before here.
Oh no, I've been waiting. I've been waiting to plug him. I think Joe's right. You probably could flip a coin on all but maybe 2 of these first-round matches, and you might do better than picking. It's going to be who falls where and who bounces which way. But I actually have Lawson winning the whole thing. I think he has improved steadily over the year based on some of the results I've seen. I've got Amos in the top quarter. I've got Hodge in that second quarter. Lawson beating Perkins. And then Mamaleni over George. But anybody that's seen Delta this year knows that you better be ready for whatever George brings, because if he catches you where he wants you, you're stuck. So that would be a really exciting ticket round match to watch. Lawson has obviously seen Mamaleni too, correct?
Yeah, he lost to him at the Al Smith in the first round.
That's right.
Lawson ended up wrestling back. He wrestled George. He beat George.
Right back.
And then he's won one with Campbell and beat Shaw. And so we've got a lot of common opponents there.
Yeah, for sure. So I have Lawson over Amos in the finals. Mamaleni third, and then I think that Hodge, even Montanez quarter bracket is probably one where a couple of those other guys in the other quarters would have liked to have been, but I'm going to go ahead and get Hodge fourth.
Yeah, that quarter bracket right there. The Montanez has had some decent wins. I know he beat the Alt from Northside, the heavyweight there, and Alt's beaten Campbell. I think there might be 2-2, 1-2, something like that, with him and Campbell. So I think that Montanez is pretty solid. So he can do some. He's pretty. It could be a good match. I think all these matches are pretty good. One thing I noticed when I was doing the preview, there's only 5 seniors at heavyweight. I don't know if I've ever seen that at a semi-state level, because usually there's about 5 underclassmen at the very most. There might be more seniors at 106 than one at heavyweight. I might have to check that out real quick.
And they all got there's a lot of really good records in here.
Yeah.
And Joe Montanez at the Al Smith, his only 2 losses were to Lawson and to Bob Samuels.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a bad draw for him, and then he came in. He had 19 wins, came in unseeded, and he runs into 2 placers fairly early in the tournament and doesn't get that opportunity to place.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those that's very interesting. Actually, there's only one senior at 106. Maybe maybe 120 would be better.
It's not funny if you go and crack the joke.
Yeah, I know. I like being truthful though. There's 3 seniors at 113, so that's interesting.
Who's the sleeper pick in the weight? Like, who's the guy that's gonna come out of anywhere and do the Chad Regari and run to a title?
At heavyweight?
At heavyweight, right now, off the top of your head, who's the guy?
It looks like Shaw's been wrestling pretty well, and he's a big kid. I don't know if that kid has a big head. He's just a big kid, and I just remember he was pretty big last year, but then when we saw him in our duel, I'm like, wow, he's gotten bigger. I don't know how that's possible.
Got a big head too.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot better since the Al Smith too, and he came out of football and wasn't match ready when the season started. He had kind of a bad loss, I thought, to Cutter, who isn't bad, from Chesterton, but never really got a chance to get enough mat time at the Al Smith. But he's actually been spending a ton of time with former state placer Travis Thatcher up in the room the last couple of weeks, and just the leg attack has kind of appeared in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I think that's made a big difference. He kind of caught a break with the Adams Central heavyweight losing in the first round in regional against the Muncie Central heavy, but you know, I didn't get to see much of Amos at the Al Smith or at Team State, but you know, Shaw's definitely a guy who can get into an overtime match and put himself in a position to win in a ticket round.
Yeah, definitely. Should be some. I mean, I can't even. I mean, Mamalendi's pretty solid. I don't know. I know he pinned Amos fairly quickly, and I don't know. I know that the team race was pretty close, and I don't know if Amos was trying to throw him or something to get the pin and possibly win. I don't think he could have anyway, but at the same time, you know, you're that late in the day, you're not, you know, you might not know exactly the whole thing, the whole score and how much you're going to get. But I mean, I know it was within like 8 points or so, the team score. So Amos could have just been trying to throw him and said, hey, I got to go get this for the team type thing. Because I was semi-surprised by that win, by the pin. I was surprised by the pin. I wasn't surprised Mamaletti beat him. But this weight's just top to bottom. Pretty good kids, you know, young guys that are gonna. I mean, we're gonna be talking about this next year. All these guys, most of these guys are gonna come back. And as Coach Pendowski said, you know, you got to manage risks at heavyweight. I mean, you don't want 250, 280 pounds on top of you at the wrong spot, or you're gonna be counting the lights at the Coliseum.
I missed it, Dan. Who are your 4? I went to the. I was too hydrated.
At least you didn't take your phone with you.
Who are your 4 to advance at heavyweight?
Mine?
Yeah.
I have Lawson over Amos and Mamaletti over Hodge.
How good is I see that Landon Campbell beat Lawson this weekend. Is that the sleeper pick? He's a regional champ. I mean, I don't know. Do you think he beats Hodge there?
I think he can. I think that's a good spot for him. I mean, Campbell, he beat Mamaletti earlier in the year at the Jim Nicholson. He has some good wins. I don't know if I have his losses on my sheet, but let's see what I have for him. I know he's lost. I think I do. He's lost to Lawson, Dakota Alt from Northside twice, Jordan Libby, that was at the Mooresville, Jacob Opes at Mooresville. He lost to William Valakalahali from Penn, and then Nick Connor. I think that those are 3 of those losses are at Mooresville. So, I mean, he's a big kid and football player, obviously, for a pretty good football team. So, just, you know, you gotta manage your risks, and it was a 1-2 point match with Lawson, and Lawson didn't do a good job managing his risks, and he got an earful after the match too. So.
I'm not trying to relive bad memories. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jesse.
So anyway, man, that went quick. It didn't seem like it was an hour and 20 minutes almost. Any last words of wisdom, Dane? Any more Carroll hatred? I mean, I know you're trying to earn our love back with that last pick, but I'm not taking.
No,
I'm not taking it.
I've been on Lawson the whole time. Going back to 285, don't go get your nachos early at the end of those rounds. I mean, I think there's going to be some really good matches, even the first round, that you're not going to want to miss, and some pretty entertaining guys. I've seen George now, I think 3 times, and every time he comes up, I'm tapping my wife on the shoulder. Hey, George is up. Watch him. Somebody's going to go flying as soon as they step into him. So, I mean, that's a guy that I'd really like to see all of his matches. I went ahead and tried to add up team scores and throw in some pins for guys that you know are going to pin, and I ended up with Yorktown 124, Belmont 119. So I mean, it's going to be tight, but you know, Belmont or Yorktown lose 2 matches that we have them winning. There's no reason that Carroll, Jimtown, Elkhart Memorial, Delta can't be right there for first and second.
Yeah, definitely. I think Delta's one that, I mean, they have 2 guys that, or at least one that's pretty close. I don't want to call it a lock, but pretty close. It's Coy. You have Gray, who's, you know, a 50-50 for, a championship there. You got two guys with a championship. Then you have throwing guys like George and Scotty Evans. Those two, they advance to the finals, which is very plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, you really just need them, and they have enough guys early on that could maybe get some pins or get some wins that they could. It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited. I'm excited for the team race. I'm excited that it's not gonna be not cut and dry. We're just seeing how many points can Yorktown score this year.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a competitive team race that's been on display at the Coliseum. I mean, it's been 20 years. So, I mean, that's exciting, too. And I'm sorry, I said Jimtown earlier in the team race. I mean, they've definitely got a shot to be, I think, top 3. But Elkhart Memorial, I think, is definitely going to score more points and should be – I'm sorry. I said Jimtown. I meant Prairie Heights. I think Carroll, Elkhart Memorial, Prairie Heights, and Delta are all within striking range of runner-up for the team race or even champ.
Yeah, it should be – I mean, look at Elkhart Memorial. You have Eli, who's a pretty heavy favorite, and you have the Mejia brothers, and then you have a couple other guys that can sneak in there. Or you have Richie, who's could be a finalist, could win it. I mean, there's no reason why he's not in the mix with Baumgartner and Gray. I mean, he's just as good as those guys. That type of stuff. So I mean, you can't out. I mean, it's going to be a fun day. I'm excited. Hopefully, the Carroll out does your picks there.
I hope they do too. I mean, you guys have had a really good year. You had a tough loss to Lawrence North at the beginning of the year. You draw Lawrence North again, and you've got an opportunity to place at Team State, and you're that close, and you're right there. You guys have dealt with some injuries. I think it will be a really good day, team race wise. On the other end too, we've got a bunch of 1A programs who have a real shot at getting state qualifiers that haven't had them before. Southern Wells hasn't had one, or too many in the last couple of years. We're talking about Daleville with the state qualifier. Some of these other schools, Eastbrook, those are exciting too because you've got a big block in the arena cheering for that one guy, and they're waiting 12-hour at a 12-hour tournament to see their guy wrestle 4 matches. But I think the Fort Wayne Semi-State could really be represented well down at Indianapolis with a bunch of teams, especially probably a majority of the 1A state qualifiers in the state. Yeah,
definitely. That's two reasons, and mainly because there's a lot more 1A schools in this area, but there is also some of the bigger schools, like the Fort Wayne schools, aren't as strong as they were in the 80s and 90s, so that kind of...
Allegedly, right?
Yes, they're on their way back.
No, I was just a post today. I was taking a shot at a poster today. That's not...
That's not nice, I know. I'm sorry. But anyway, Mike, any last words of wisdom? I think let me talk before I give you words of wisdom. I think next week we're kind of going on the premise that we'll probably have 2 shows, probably half the weights. Gotta get the draw bag. We'll just randomly draw weights and talk about them. So probably go Monday, Tuesday next week with a couple shows that we can really dissect the weights. Hopefully the brackets will be out by then. Please, Bobby Cox, Robert Hawkins, give us the brackets early. We like brackets; they're fun. So we'll probably have 2 shows. We should take a vote on the board. What special guest do you want on here to talk about the brackets?
What are they?
I want NDT.
You want who? Who do you want?
I want NDT. Love hearing Tante talk.
Now, Panofsky was pretty good too. Might have to. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll have to. We'll see. We'll have to plan that out Sunday. So anyway, yeah, probably gonna have 2 shows. Probably gonna have a bunch of previews, bunch of see how good Mike's rankings really are. Last year he had 171 ranked guys make it to state. Hopefully he one up this year. If not, you might have to talk a pay cut.
Less T-shirts and less team bags. That's
yeah. I don't know. You have enough stuff? I have a whole section just of Indiana Mat stuff in my closet. So
We know we have to wear them all this week.
Yeah, I know. I did. I had to do laundry actually. Any last words of wisdom, Mike, before we sign off?
No, just thank you guys for everything you do. Obviously, Dana, I have a ton of respect for the team stuff that you do and how you do it, and you do a great job at that. And Joe, obviously, with your semi-state rankings, and the preview was really good. So I think that not that there's not enough appreciation for that, but I really appreciate what you guys do in that sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dane, for getting on here and telling us how much you hate Carol. I'll remember that.
He had a rough week. He used to have a tie on when the show started.
That's true.
So, no, it should be great wrestling. I'm excited for semi-state. We'll be having Twitter updates. I might just have to – I know we gave Triple B, he's going to be giving some Twitter updates on Indiana Matt's Twitter handle, so follow that. We'll be trying to keep you guys, everyone updated on the upsets, happenings, and all that fun stuff. So with that, I will let you guys go. Good night, and we'll see you guys next Monday.